Listen, if you're in a season right now where you feel forgotten, I want you to know that God has not forgotten about you. Okay? Um, there's been many a weeks within the last, since this year has began, I would say, where I felt like just so confused about where God was taking me, just confused about the journey I've been on, and I know I'm not alone in that feeling. I know that I'm not the only one who may have thought their life would have been one way, but they're finding that God's taking them a whole different path. Right. And I just want you to know, whoever is, watching this video, is that many times God will take us from Egypt, the wilderness before the promised land. But here's the thing, though, even though you're in the wilderness, right? To you, it doesn't feel like a wilderness. It feels like your regular life, right? You're noticing that like nothing's working out the way that you wanted to. Your things are even very unstable. You know what I mean? Every day is very new, right? And you have to depend on God's voice. But it's like when you read that in the Bible, it's one thing, right? But when it's like your life, right, and you've transitioned out of like that state of Egypt, right, and you're in the wilderness and God is taking you to the promised land. And how do we know God's taking us to the promised land? Because anytime God takes us out of something, it's never to just take us out of something. Why? Because anything that stays to itself, right, always goes back. Right? So God knows, right? He has to irritate us to a point, make us so uncomfortable where we were in our mess, in our bad habits, in our depression, right? In our bad decisions. He knows before he can even take us out of that, he has to allow our lives to become so disruptive, so chaotic, right? That by the time we leave Egypt, right, he's instilled enough eagerness and longing within us to where how should I say this? In other words, he knows if he just takes you out of something, right, without telling you and inputting in you, right, that listen, where I'm taking you out of, it's not just to take you out of it, but it's to take you somewhere, right? He knows if he doesn't give us that belief, right, that faith, right, where it's like, listen, where I'm taking you is much better. Trust me. Yeah, where you left, you're in a better place now. But he's like, where I'm taking you is so much better, And so I just want somebody to know, like, while you're in the wilderness, right, or whatever version of a wilderness you want to call it, right, understand God's trying to take you somewhere. Right? Understand, like, God has a plan for you. Understand, like, there is some character building that must take place. And I think, like, the most important thing that I can say in this video, right, to where, like, you get something out of it, right, is when Joshua and Caleb, what they went and they did recon on their land, and everybody else was, right, downplaying who they were. Right, we're like grasshoppers in the eyes of the people currently occupying the land. Right, the land like God was trying to take them to. It's crazy because attitude is everything. Attitude is literally everything, right? Because of how they saw themselves, they counted God out, and all they saw were the obstacles and where they were trying to go. And I'm trying to tell you, person on the other side of the screen, is that the wilderness is there to do one thing. It's there to change your attitude. It's there to give you a line. It's there to remind you that you're a crown. Not that you're a crown, but that you have a crown deep within you. You have a crown, an invisible crown on your head. It's been there since you were born. Go read Psalms 82, verse 6. This is God saying to us human beings, I tell you, you are gods. Lowercase God, so don't get too like big-headed, right? But like we're made in God's image. We move like God. We're supposed to talk like God. We're supposed to think like God. You know what I mean? And so like that's why you'll see so many people who go about it the wrong way, right? They slavery, right? Holocaust, people who are bigger and bullies, right? They have the wrong idea of what being a god is all about. Lowercase God, so don't stone me or whatever, right? But what I'm trying to tell you, the wilderness is there to do one thing. It's there to change your thinking. You're not just some kid from Haiti. You're not just some immigrant from wherever you're from. You're not just some kid from the hood. You're not just a woman who society says you're lesser than, right? You're not just, it doesn't matter. Fill in the blank, but it's like the wilderness is there to do one thing, to take your mind and turn it into that of a king, of that of a queen. And then once your mind changes, right? Once the 360 of your mindset changes, then guess what? God's like, okay, now I can start changing the 360 around you. But guess what? You don't get the 360 change until your mindset changes. So a lot of you that's in the wilderness right now, and you're like, man, like, how is it I'm still in this situation? What do you mean? Your thinking hasn't changed. You got to change your thinking. You got to disrupt everything else. You got to cut out everything else. Anything that's not calling you a king or a queen, anybody that's not calling you a king or a queen, you need to cut them out. And I'm not saying like do what I do, because I do everything so drastic sometimes that I have to go back and apologize. But which I'm learning to like do things with more grace. But you person on the other side of the screen who's probably a lot more tactful than I am, right? This might be the season when you need to tell those people, I can't hang out with you this season. This might be the season where you need to tell that person you've been dating, who you know, I'll leave it at that. Hey, right now I need to leave you alone. This might be the season where you may need to even tell your own family, this is just me and God this season. I can't hang out with y'all the way that I used to. I got to figure out what this king thing is all about. I got to figure out what this queen thing is all about. I got to figure out what this invisible crown thing, this crazy dude on YouTube's talking about is all about. Because everything else ain't working. Do you understand? Like, I guess like, this is how I'm going to end this, right? Like, I need you guys to become kings and queens. Like, there's a problem I was born and designed to solve that's going to make your life better, my life better, the life of my future kids better, grandkids better, great-grandkids better. And there's a problem that you person on the other side of the screen, you watching this, there's a problem that only you can solve. But you're not going to solve that problem unless you turn into the king and the queen that you actually are. And if you don't solve that problem, guess what? My kids, my grandkids, my friends and their kids, like, they're not going to have as fulfilling of a life, because only you were designed to solve that problem. So we need you to become a king. We need you to become a queen. I'm passionate about this because it's like I'm doing everything I can to be a king. I'm doing everything I can to become the best version of myself, because I know if I solve the problem I'm designed to solve on this planet, your life is going to get better. My life is going to get better. The life of your children will get better. The life of the children you don't even have yet will get better. You matter. Like, they were wrong. Society was wrong. What maybe some of the things your parents said to you or did to you when you were 5, 6, 7, they were wrong. And I'm sorry they didn't say I'm sorry. But you matter. There's a crown on your head. It's invisible. I know you can't see it, but I can see it. And the reason why I can see it is because I can see mine. And I know if he gave one to me, he gave one to you. Okay? And so like if life seems crazy right now, chaotic, disruptive, I promise you there's a purpose for it. And 9 times out of 10, that purpose is because you need to come higher. You need to become a better version of yourself. You need to start seeing yourself as Psalms 82 verse 6. Okay? I need you to be the real you. Johnny out.